Megan Walker stood in front of the bathroom mirror, her hands gripping the cold porcelain sink. The water ran from the tap, but she did not move to wash her face. She just stared at her reflection, 43 years old, lines around her eyes that were not there 2 years ago. Gray hairs she never bothered to color anymore. She looked tired. She felt tired. It was 6 in the morning. The small apartment was quiet except for the sound of the water and the distant cry of seagulls outside. Megan lived in Coastal Bay now, a tiny town on the Oregon coast. Population, 3,000 people. Maybe 4,000 during summer when tourists came for the beaches and the famous seafood festival. Before this, Megan had lived in Seattle. Before this, she had worn a uniform. Before this, she had been someone important. She turned off the water and walked to the kitchen. The apartment was small but comfortable. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, a living room that connected to a kitchen area. Large windows overlooked the ocean. Megan could see the waves from where she stood. Gray water under a gray sky. It was spring, but the Oregon coast stayed cool and cloudy most of the year. She made coffee, strong and black. While the coffee machine worked, she opened her laptop on the small kitchen table. An email from her mother waited for her. Her mother lived in Arizona now, retired and happy. The email asked the usual questions. How are you? Are you eating well? Have you met anyone nice? Megan did not answer these emails quickly anymore. What could she say? That she worked at a market stall selling vegetables? That her only friend was an elderly neighbor named Sarah? That she still had nightmares about explosions? 2 years ago, Megan had been the head of security at Seattle International Airport. She had worked there for 15 years, climbing from a basic security officer to one of the most important positions in airport safety. She had been good at her job, really good. She had caught drug smugglers, stopped people with fake passports, and identified dangerous items in luggage thousands of times, until the day she did not. Megan closed her laptop. She did not want to think about that day. But her brain did not care what she wanted. The memories came anyway. It had been a Tuesday in March. Regular day. Regular shift. The airport was busy but not crazy. Spring break was just starting, so families were traveling. Megan had been in the main security office watching the screens that showed every checkpoint, every scanner, every corner of the airport. A man had checked in a large suitcase. Brown leather, expensive looking. The X-ray scanner showed something inside, but it was not clear. It looked like electronics, cameras maybe, or computer parts. The security officer on duty had called Megan. She had looked at the screen, studied the image. The shape was strange, but not obviously dangerous. The man who owned the suitcase was a businessman, 40 years old, frequent flyer. He traveled every week for his job. His papers were all correct. His behavior was normal. Megan had made a decision. She told the officer to let it through. Maybe swab it for chemical traces, but let it pass. They could not open every bag that looked slightly unusual. Thousands of bags went through the airport every day. The man took his flight to Los Angeles. His suitcase went into the cargo hold. Everything seemed fine. Except it was not fine. 2 hours later, a cleaning crew was working in Terminal B. The terminal had been closed for renovation. Only workers were there. The man's suitcase had been placed there by mistake. Someone in baggage handling had put it in the wrong area. When the bomb inside the suitcase exploded, it destroyed part of the terminal wall. The blast was powerful. 5 workers were injured, 2 seriously. The fire burned for 20 minutes before firefighters could control it. The man was arrested at LAX. He was part of a group planning attacks on airports. His plan had been to blow up the plane during flight, but the bomb had a timing error. It exploded early, in the empty terminal, instead of in the air. 5 people injured because Megan had missed it. 5 people who nearly died. If the bomb had exploded on the plane, 200 people would have died.
The investigation took 3 months. Megan was questioned again and again. What did you see on the screen? Why did you approve the bag? Did you follow all the procedures? The final report said Megan had followed the rules. She was not blamed officially. The system had failed, not just her. Better scanners were needed, better training, more time to check each bag. But Megan blamed herself. She had looked at that X-ray image and said yes. She had let it pass. Her decision had hurt people. She could not do the job anymore. Every time she looked at a scanner screen, she saw that suitcase. Every time she approved a bag, she wondered if there was a bomb inside. She could not sleep, could not eat. Her hands shook when she went to work. After 4 months of trying, she quit. She told her boss she was done. She told her friends she needed a change. She told her family she wanted to live somewhere quiet. Then she drove down the coast until she found Coastal Bay, a place where nothing ever happened, a place where she could forget, except she had not forgotten. Not really. Megan poured her coffee and sat by the window. The ocean was calm today. A few fishing boats moved slowly near the horizon. In an hour, she would go to work at the Saturday market. She would spend the day selling vegetables and fruit from local farms. She would smile at customers and make change and talk about the weather. It was a simple life, a safe life, a life where she could not hurt anyone. Her phone buzzed, a text from Sarah, her neighbor. "Good morning, dear. Do you want to come for breakfast? I made too many pancakes." Megan smiled for the first time that morning. Sarah was 72 years old and had more energy than people half her age. She lived in the apartment next door with her daughter, Linda, and Linda's 2 children. They had adopted Megan into their family, inviting her for meals and holidays. Megan always said no at first, but Sarah did not give up easily. "Thank you. I'll come over in 10 minutes," Megan texted back. She finished her coffee and changed into clean jeans and a sweater. Spring in Coastal Bay meant layers, cool mornings, warmer afternoons, cold evenings. She grabbed her jacket and locked her door. Sarah's apartment smelled like maple syrup and coffee. The kitchen was twice the size of Megan's, with a big table where Sarah's family gathered. Linda was there with her children, Emma and Jack. Emma was 8, Jack was 5. They were eating pancakes and talking about their plans for the day. "Megan!" Emma jumped up and hugged her. "Grandma Sarah made pancakes." "I see that," Megan said, hugging the little girl back. "They smell delicious." Sit down, Sarah said, already putting a plate in front of her. "You work too hard. You need a good breakfast." "I just sell vegetables, Sarah. It's not hard work." "You stand all day." "That's hard." Sarah poured more coffee. "Linda, tell Megan about the festival." Linda looked up from her phone. She was 38, a teacher at the local school. "Oh, yes. The seafood festival is next month. The town council is planning something big this year. They want to attract more tourists." "They want to make more money," Sarah said, laughing. "Not that I blame them." The town needs it. The seafood festival was Coastal Bay's biggest event. Every year in May, the town celebrated its fishing history with food stalls, music, and art shows. People came from all over the state. The population of the town grew from 3,000 to 15,000 for one weekend. "Are you working the festival?" Linda asked Megan. "Probably." "The market usually has a booth there." "You should come even if you're not working," Sarah said. "It's fun. Music, dancing, food. You never do anything fun." Megan smiled. "I have fun." "Reading books alone in your apartment is not fun," Sarah said firmly. "You're young." "Well, younger than me. You should have friends. Maybe meet someone nice." "Sarah," Linda said, a warning in her voice, "leave her alone." "I'm just saying, a beautiful woman like her alone all the time. It's not right. Megan was used to this. Sarah meant well. She worried about everyone. I'm fine, really. I like my quiet life. Sarah said, but she dropped the subject. More pancakes? After breakfast, Megan walked to the market. It was a 15-minute walk from her apartment, through the small downtown area. Coastal Bay had one main street with shops and restaurants, a library, a post office, 2 cafes, a bookstore that also sold souvenirs. Everything closed by 9 in the evening. The Saturday market was held in the town square, a large open area near the harbor. Local farmers brought vegetables, fruit, eggs, and flowers. There were also stalls selling handmade crafts, baked goods, and prepared food. In summer, the market was crowded. In spring, it was quieter but still busy. Megan worked for a farmer named Bill Henderson. He was 60 years old and had owned his farm for 30 years. He grew vegetables and some fruit, sold them at the market, and to local restaurants. He had hired Megan 6 months ago when his regular helper moved away. "Morning, Megan," Bill said when she arrived. He was already setting up the stall, arranging crates of lettuce and carrots. "Sleep okay?" "Well enough," Megan lied. She had nightmares most nights, but she did not talk about that. "Good. It's going to be busy today. Weather's nice for once." They worked together to set up the display. Lettuce, spinach, carrots, potatoes, onions, apples, and pears. Everything was fresh, picked yesterday or this morning. Bill's farm was organic, which made his produce popular with health-conscious customers. By 9 o'clock, the market was open. Customers began to arrive. Megan knew many of them by now. The same people came every week. Mrs. Chen, who bought lettuce and always asked about Megan's health. Mr. Rodriguez, who bought carrots for his restaurant. The young couple who were trying to eat more vegetables. "Megan, dear," Mrs. Chen approached the stall. "How are you today?" "I'm well, Mrs. Chen. And you?" "Oh, my back hurts. But what can you do?" "I'm 75. Things hurt." She picked up a head of lettuce, examining it carefully. "This looks good. I'll take 2. Megan bagged the lettuce and took Mrs. Chen's money. They chatted about the weather and the upcoming festival. It was easy conversation, comfortable. This was what Megan liked about the market. Small talk, simple interactions. No pressure, no decisions that could hurt people. The morning passed quickly. Megan sold vegetables, made change, and answered questions about how to cook different items. She recommended roasting the carrots. She explained that the spinach was great in salads or cooked. She talked about the weather 12 times. At noon, Bill went to get lunch. Megan stayed at the stall. The market was crowded now. Tourists mixed with locals. Children ran around while their parents shopped. Music played from somewhere. A local band performing near the seafood stalls. Megan was helping a customer when she noticed the backpack. It was sitting under one of the craft stalls, about 20 feet away. Dark blue, fairly large, unattended. The woman who ran the craft stall was talking to customers and did not seem to notice it. Megan's heart started beating faster. "It's nothing," she told herself. "Someone just left their bag there for a minute." But she could not stop looking at it. All her old training came back. Unattended bags were dangerous. You never ignored an unattended bag. She tried to focus on her customer, but her eyes kept moving back to the backpack. It was still there. No one was coming back for it. "Miss?" her customer said. "Are you okay?" "Yes, sorry." Megan forced a smile and finished the transaction. But as soon as the customer left, she looked at the backpack again. It had not moved. Megan's hands were shaking. She knew she was probably being paranoid. This was not the airport. This was a small-town market. People left bags around all the time. It did not mean anything. But what if it did? She walked over to the craft stall. The woman there was named Joyce, an artist who made jewelry from sea glass. "Joyce," Megan said quietly, "that backpack under your table, is it yours?" Joyce looked down. "What?" "Number. I thought someone left it there by accident." "How long has it been there?" "I don't know, maybe 20 minutes. Why? 20 minutes? That was too long." "Did you see who left it?" "No. Why? Is something wrong?" Joyce's smile faded. She saw the look on Megan's face. "Probably nothing," Megan said. "But unattended bags make me nervous." Joyce was from Coastal Bay. She had lived there all her life. She had never worked in security, never trained to look for threats. But she had watched the news. She understood. "Should we call the police?" Joyce asked, her voice lower now. "Let me look at it first. Maybe it's just someone's forgotten shopping." Megan approached the backpack carefully. It was not dirty, not old. Fairly new, actually. Expensive brand. It sat in the shadow of the table, partially hidden. She crouched down next to it. Her heart was pounding. She felt ridiculous. This was probably nothing. Someone would come back any second looking for their bag, and Megan would look like a paranoid fool. But she had to check. She looked at the backpack without touching it. The zippers were closed. She could not see inside. She leaned closer, listening. Nothing. No ticking. No sounds at all. Slowly, very slowly, she reached out and touched the fabric. Through the material, she felt hard objects, angular shapes, not books, not clothes, something else. Megan's training took over. She had examined thousands of bags at the airport. She knew what suspicious items felt like. And this felt wrong. "Joyce," she said, keeping her voice calm, "I need you to do something for me. Go tell Bill at the vegetable stall that I need him. Tell him to bring his phone. Don't say anything to anyone else. Can you do that?" Joyce's eyes were wide. "You think it's a bomb?" "I don't know, but I'm not taking chances. Please, go get Bill." Joyce nodded and walked quickly to the vegetable stall. Megan stayed crouched by the backpack. Her mind was racing. If there was a bomb inside, she needed to get everyone away. But how? If she shouted bomb, people would panic. They would run, push, and hurt each other. The market was crowded, too crowded. Bill arrived quickly, Joyce right behind him. "Megan? What's wrong?" "I need you to call the police," Megan said quietly. "Tell them there's a suspicious bag at the market. Tell them I think there might be an explosive device inside." Bill's face went pale. "Are you sure?" "No, but I'm not wrong about things like this." She looked up at him. "Bill, I used to be the head of security at Seattle International Airport. I know what I'm doing. Call the police. Now." Bill pulled out his phone. His hands were shaking, but he made the call. Megan stood up. She looked around the market. So many people. Families with children, elderly couples, tourists taking pictures. If the bomb was real, if it exploded, dozens would be hurt, maybe killed. She could not let that happen. Not again. "Joyce," she said, "I need you to help me. We need to clear this area. But we need to do it calmly. No panic. Can you do that?" Joyce nodded. "What do I do?" "Start with the stalls nearby. Tell them there's been a gas leak reported. Tell them everyone needs to move to the far end of the market. Make it sound routine. Can you do that?" "Yes. Yes, I can." "Good. Go." Joyce hurried away. Bill finished his call. "Police are coming," he said. "They said 10 minutes. They're calling the county bomb squad too, but that'll take longer. 10 minutes. That was too long. The market was getting busier every minute." "Bill, help Joyce. Start moving people away from this area. Tell them anything except the truth. Gas leak, water main break, whatever. Just get them away." "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to stay with the bag." Megan, if it's really a bomb, then someone needs to stay here and make sure no one touches it. Go, please. Bill hesitated, then nodded. He walked away quickly, heading to the nearest stall. Megan was alone with the backpack. She sat down on the ground next to Joyce's table, her back against the leg, facing the backpack. From here, she could watch it and watch the crowd. Her heart was still pounding, but her hands had stopped shaking. This was familiar. This was what she used to do every day. Except at the airport, she had equipment. Scanners, robots, bomb squads on standby. Here, she had nothing. She watched as Bill and Joyce moved through the stalls. She saw them talking to vendors, saw the vendors starting to pack up. Some looked confused, some looked annoyed, but they moved. The crowd was thinning, slowly, too slowly, but it was working. A man approached Megan's position. He was young, maybe 25, wearing jeans and a jacket. He walked straight toward Joyce's stall. "Excuse me," he said to Megan. "I left my backpack here." "Have you seen it?" Megan's blood ran cold. She looked at the man carefully. He seemed nervous, but not dangerous. His eyes were searching the area under the table. "That blue one?" Megan asked, pointing. "Yes." "Thank you." He reached for it. "Wait," Megan said quickly. "Don't touch it." The man stopped. "What?" "Why?" "I need to ask you something. What's inside the bag?" He frowned. "What?" "That's none of your business. It's my bag." "Please, just answer the question. What's in the bag?" "Just my stuff. Why are you asking?" Megan stood up. She was shorter than the man, but she used her voice the way she had learned in training. Firm, authoritative. "I'm asking because an unattended bag in a crowded place is a security risk. I need to know what's inside before you take it." The man looked angry now. "This is crazy." "It's just my backpack. I left it here by accident while I went to get food." "Then you won't mind telling me what's inside?" "Fine. Clothes, a book, my phone charger. Happy?" Megan studied his face. He looked annoyed, not scared, not guilty, but she had to be sure. "Please open the bag and show me." "What?" "No. Who are you anyway? You're not a cop." "No, I'm not. But the police are on their way. You can wait for them or you can show me now." The man stared at her. Then he sighed and knelt down. "This is ridiculous," he muttered. He grabbed the backpack and unzipped it. Megan tensed, ready to run. If there was a bomb inside, if it was triggered by movement. But nothing happened. The man opened the bag wide. Inside were clothes, a book, a phone charger, a water bottle. Nothing else. Megan let out a breath she had not realized she was holding. "Satisfied?" the man asked sarcastically. "Yes, thank you. I'm sorry for the trouble." "Whatever." He zipped the bag closed and walked away, still muttering. Megan sat back down. Her whole body was shaking now. She felt foolish. It had been nothing. Just a forgotten backpack. She had panicked for nothing, cleared half the market for nothing. But she had done the right thing. Unattended bags were dangerous. You could not take chances. Bill came back. "The police just arrived. Are you okay?" "I'm fine." It was nothing, just someone's forgotten bag. They came back for it. Bill looked relieved. "So there's no bomb?" "No. False alarm. I'm sorry. I overreacted." "No, you didn't. You did the right thing. Better safe than sorry." Two police officers approached. Megan recognized them, Officer Daniels and Officer Park. She had seen them around town. "Miss Walker," Officer Daniels said, "we got a call about a suspicious bag." Megan explained what had happened. The unattended backpack. Her concerns. The man who came back. She showed them where it had been. Officer Daniels nodded. You did the right thing calling us. Can't be too careful these days. I feel foolish, Megan admitted. I probably scared people for nothing. Better than the alternative, Officer Park said. You have security training? Yes. I used to work at an airport. The officers exchanged a glance. Well, if you ever see anything else suspicious, call us immediately. We'd rather come out for a false alarm than miss a real threat. They talked for a few more minutes, then left. The market was returning to normal. Vendors were setting up their stalls again. Customers were coming back. Some were complaining about the disruption. Others did not seem to notice anything had happened. Megan went back to Bill's stall. He was reorganizing the vegetables. You okay? He asked again. Yeah, just feeling stupid. Don't. You saw something wrong. You acted on it. That's good instincts. But Megan did not feel good. She felt embarrassed. She had let her paranoia take over. She had seen danger where there was none. Just like after the bombing at the airport. Every bag was dangerous now. Every situation was a threat. Maybe she was not as healed as she thought. The rest of the day passed slowly. Megan smiled at customers and sold vegetables, but her mind was elsewhere. She kept thinking about the backpack, about the man's annoyed face, about how she had almost caused a panic over nothing. At 5 o'clock, the market closed. Megan helped Bill pack everything up and load it into his truck. Thanks for today, Bill said. I'll see you next Saturday? Yes. See you then. Megan walked home as the sun started to set. The ocean was turning orange and pink. Seagulls cried overhead. It was beautiful, but she barely noticed. Back in her apartment, she made dinner. Pasta with vegetables from the market. She ate alone, watching the ocean through the window. The waves were getting bigger as the tide came in. Her phone rang. It was her mother. Hello, sweetheart. I haven't heard from you in a while. How are you? I'm fine, Mom. Just busy with work. They talked for a while. Her mother told stories about her neighbors in Arizona. She asked about the weather in Oregon. She did not ask about the airport, about Megan's old job, about what happened. She never did. They both avoided the subject. After the call, Megan took a shower and got ready for bed. She tried to read a book, but could not focus. Her mind kept going back to the backpack. You did the right thing, she told herself. Better to check and be wrong than not check and be wrong. But the doubt remained. She lay in bed, listening to the ocean. Eventually, she fell asleep. And like most nights, she dreamed of explosions.
The week passed slowly. Megan worked at the market on Saturday, then spent her weekdays doing odd jobs around town. She cleaned houses for extra money. She helped at the library. She tried to stay busy. The incident with the backpack bothered her more than she wanted to admit. She had thought she was getting better. 6 months in Coastal Bay, 6 months of quiet life, and she had felt almost normal again. But one unattended bag had brought it all back. The fear, the hypervigilance, the inability to trust her own judgment. On Tuesday, she had an appointment with Dr. Morrison, a therapist in the next town over. Megan drove there once a week, 30 minutes each way. It was the only therapy available. Coastal Bay was too small to have its own mental health services. Dr. Morrison's office was in a building she shared with 2 other doctors. The waiting room was small and plain, with old magazines and a fish tank. Megan sat there for 10 minutes before Dr. Morrison called her in. Dr. Morrison was in her 50s, with short gray hair and glasses. She had a kind face and a calm voice. Megan had been seeing her for 4 months. How was your week? Dr. Morrison asked as they settled into their usual chairs. Megan told her about the backpack incident. Dr. Morrison listened without interrupting. How did you feel afterward? Dr. Morrison asked when Megan finished. Stupid. Embarrassed. Like I overreacted. Do you think you overreacted? Megan hesitated. I don't know. Unattended bags are a real threat. I did what I was trained to do, but there was no bomb. So maybe I did overreact. Or maybe you did exactly what you should have done, Dr. Morrison said gently. You saw something that concerned you. You took appropriate action. You verified the situation before causing a panic. That sounds like good judgment to me. But I was wrong. You were careful. That's different from being wrong. Megan looked down at her hands. I feel like I'm broken. Like I can't see things clearly anymore. Everything looks dangerous now. That's a normal response to trauma, Megan. You experienced something terrible. Your brain is trying to protect you by being extra alert to threats. That's not broken. That's how trauma works. They talked for the rest of the hour about trauma responses, about hypervigilance, about the difference between being careful and being paranoid. Dr. Morrison gave her exercises to practice. Mindfulness, grounding techniques, ways to calm her nervous system when it went into alarm mode. You're making progress, Dr. Morrison said at the end of the session. Don't forget that. 6 months ago, you could barely leave your apartment. Now you're working. You have friends. You're living your life. That's real progress. Megan wanted to believe her. But as she drove home, she felt the weight of doubt pressing down on her. That evening, Sarah invited her over for dinner again. Megan accepted. Sarah's apartment had become a kind of refuge for her. It was warm and loud and full of life, the opposite of her own quiet space. Linda was cooking, spaghetti with homemade sauce. The children were setting the table, arguing about whose turn it was to put out the napkins. How was your day? Sarah asked Megan. Fine. Just errands. Megan did not mention the therapy appointment. She had not told Sarah about her past. As far as Sarah knew, Megan had simply wanted a quieter life. That was true enough. They ate dinner together, the conversation flowing easily. Emma talked about school, about the book she was reading. Jack talked about the toy cars he was playing with. Linda talked about her students. Sarah talked about her garden. The festival is in 2 weeks, Linda said. Are you excited? I guess, Megan said. It'll be busy. You should take a day off, Sarah suggested. Enjoy the festival instead of working it. Maybe. But Megan knew she would not. Working felt safer than being in a crowd. After dinner, Megan helped with the dishes. Sarah's kitchen window overlooked the ocean, and they stood side by side, washing and drying plates, watching the sun set. You know, Sarah said quietly, you don't have to tell me what happened. But I know something did. Something that hurt you. Megan stopped washing. She looked at Sarah. Sarah smiled gently. I'm old. I've seen a lot of people, and I recognize the look you have sometimes, like you're carrying something heavy. Megan did not know what to say. You don't have to talk about it, Sarah continued, but I want you to know that you're safe here. Whatever happened before, it doesn't matter to us. We care about you, the person you are now. Megan felt tears prickling her eyes. She blinked them back. Thank you, she managed to say.
Sarah patted her hand. That's what neighbors are for. They finished the dishes in comfortable silence. The next week brought warmer weather. Spring was finally arriving in full force. Flowers bloomed in gardens. The ocean looked more blue than gray. Tourists started arriving early for the festival. The town was getting ready. Banners went up on Main Street. Restaurants extended their hours. The harbor was cleaned and decorated. Everyone was talking about the festival. It would be the biggest one yet, the town council promised. More vendors, more entertainment, more visitors. Megan helped Bill prepare. They would have a larger stall this year, in a prominent spot near the main stage. Bill was excited. This could be his best year for sales. On Thursday, Megan was walking through town when she ran into Officer Daniels. Ms. Walker, he said, nodding. How are you? Good, thank you. And you? Busy. Getting ready for the festival. We're bringing in extra security this year. Bigger crowd means more potential problems. That's smart, Megan said. Officer Daniels hesitated. Actually, I wanted to ask you something. You have security experience, right? From working at the airport? Yes. Why? We could use some help with the festival. Just an extra set of eyes. Someone who knows what to look for. The department is small, just 8 officers. We're stretched thin during big events. Megan felt her stomach tighten. I don't know. I'm not trained for that kind of work anymore. You called in that suspicious bag last week. That was good work. We need people who can spot problems before they become emergencies. It turned out to be nothing. This time, but you had good instincts. Will you think about it? We're having a planning meeting tomorrow afternoon. Just come listen. See if it's something you'd be interested in. Megan wanted to say no, but she heard herself saying, I'll think about it. That night, she could not sleep. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about Officer Daniels' offer. Part of her wanted to help. Security work had been her life for so many years. She had been good at it. She had saved countless lives by catching threats before they became disasters. Except for the one time she had not. But was she going to let that one failure define the rest of her life? Was she going to hide in this small town forever, selling vegetables, afraid to use her skills? Dr. Morrison's words came back to her. You're making progress. Maybe this was part of progress. Facing her fears, using her training again. Proving to herself that she was not broken. Or maybe she was just setting herself up for another failure. She did not sleep much that night. Friday afternoon, Megan went to the police station. It was a small building on Main Street, brick and simple. Inside, Officer Daniels led her to a meeting room where 5 other people were already gathered. Megan recognized some of them. Officer Park, the fire chief, a woman from the town council, and 2 men she did not know. Everyone, this is Megan Walker, Officer Daniels said. She's agreed to help us with festival security. Megan has extensive experience with airport security. Megan, this is Chief Reynolds from the fire department, Councilwoman Hayes, and these are 2 volunteers from the festival committee, Marcus and Tom. Everyone nodded hello. Megan sat down, feeling out of place. Officer Daniels pulled up a map of the festival layout on a laptop. Okay, let's go over the plan. The festival will take up the entire harbor area and the town square. We're expecting 15,000 to 20,000 people over the 3-day weekend. That's 5 times our normal population. He pointed to different areas on the map. We'll have food vendors here, here, and here. The main stage for music will be at the center of the square. Arts and crafts vendors along the harbor walk. A children's play area over here. Parking will be in these lots, with shuttle buses running. What about security checkpoints? Megan asked. Everyone looked at her. Do you have any places where you're checking bags or screening people coming in? Officer Daniels shook his head. It's an open festival. People come and go freely. We've never had checkpoints before. Megan bit her lip. No checkpoints meant anyone could bring anything in. Weapons, explosives, whatever they wanted. What kind of crowd control do you have? We'll have barriers around the stage and the children's area. Clear exit routes, standard stuff. What about surveillance? We have cameras at some intersections, and officers will be walking around. Megan could see the problems immediately. No checkpoints, limited cameras, just 8 officers for 20,000 people. This was not secure. This was an open invitation for trouble. But she kept quiet. This was not her responsibility. She was just here to listen. The meeting continued for an hour. They discussed staffing, emergency procedures, and how to handle lost children. It all seemed reasonable, but Megan could feel her anxiety building. There were so many gaps in the security plan, so many things that could go wrong. After the meeting, Officer Daniels walked her out. "What do you think?" he asked. Megan chose her words carefully. "It's a good basic plan. But with that many people in an open area, with no security screening, you're vulnerable to a lot of potential threats. We're a small town, Ms. Walker. We don't have the resources for airport-level security." "I understand. I'm just pointing out the risks." Officer Daniels sighed. "I know. Believe me, I know. But the town council wants this festival to be welcoming and accessible. Too much security makes people nervous." Megan understood that logic. She had heard it before. Balance between safety and freedom, between caution and paranoia. She had gotten that balance wrong once. 5 people had paid the price. "Will you still help?" Officer Daniels asked. "Just walk around during the festival. Keep an eye out for anything unusual. You don't have to do anything official. Just be another set of eyes." Megan nodded slowly. "Okay, I'll help." "Thank you." He looked relieved. "I'll send you the full security plan. You can review it. Let me know if you see any problems." That night, Megan sat in her apartment with her laptop, reading through the festival security plan that Officer Daniels had emailed. It was thorough in some ways. They had thought about medical emergencies, fire hazards, and crowd management. But the security gaps worried her. She opened a new document and started writing notes. Suggestions for improvement, places where cameras should be added, ideas for a simple bag check system that would not be too intrusive, ways to identify and track potential threats in a crowd. She worked for 3 hours, drawing on all her old training. It felt strange, using these skills again. Strange, but also familiar. Comfortable, in a way. When she finished, she had 5 pages of recommendations. She sent them to Officer Daniels with a note. "Just some thoughts. Feel free to ignore anything that doesn't work for your situation." Then she closed her laptop and went to bed. For the first time in weeks, she did not have nightmares. The next morning was Saturday, market day. Megan arrived early to help Bill set up. The weather was perfect, sunny and warm, with a light breeze from the ocean. The market would be busy today. As they arranged the vegetables, Bill asked, "I heard you're helping with festival security?" News traveled fast in a small town. "Just a little. Walking around, keeping an eye out." "That's good. You've got the experience for it." Bill placed a crate of tomatoes on the table. "Between you and me, I've always thought the festival could use better security. Every year it gets bigger, but the police department doesn't grow. They're doing their best with what they have. I know, but I worry sometimes. All those people in one place. If something bad happened." He did not finish the sentence. He did not need to. Megan understood. The market opened at 9. The first customers arrived quickly. Megan fell into her routine, weighing vegetables, making change, chatting with familiar faces. It was a normal morning, until it was not. Around 11 o'clock, Megan saw a man standing near the entrance to the market square. He was not shopping. He was not walking. He was just standing there, looking around. There was nothing obviously wrong about him. He was in his 30s, wearing jeans and a jacket. But something about the way he stood caught Megan's attention. His eyes were moving constantly, scanning the crowd. His hands were in his jacket pockets. He looked tense. Megan tried to focus on her customers. The man was probably just waiting for someone. Or maybe he was a tourist, taking in the scene. But she could not stop watching him. After 5 minutes, the man moved. He walked slowly along the edge of the market, still looking around, still tense. He stopped at different points, studying the layout. The exits, the stalls, the crowd patterns. Megan's instincts were screaming now. This was wrong. This man was not shopping. He was not sightseeing. He was surveying. She served another customer, all the while keeping the man in her peripheral vision. He moved to the far end of the market, near the harbor. Then he pulled out his phone and made a call. Megan could not hear what he was saying, but she saw him gesturing, pointing at different areas, like he was describing the layout to someone. Then he ended the call and walked away, leaving the market area entirely. Megan stood frozen at the stall. Her heart was pounding. Everything in her training said that was suspicious behavior. That was a security threat doing reconnaissance. But maybe she was being paranoid again. Maybe he was just a tourist. Maybe he was waiting for friends. Maybe there was a perfectly innocent explanation. She did not know what to do. Call the police and report what? A man looking around? That was not a crime. She would look foolish again. But what if she was right? What if he was planning something? Megan? Bill's voice broke through her thoughts. You okay? You look pale. I'm fine. Can you watch the stall for a minute? I need to make a call. She stepped away and pulled out her phone. She stared at Officer Daniels' number for a long moment. Then she put the phone away. Number. She was not doing this again. She was not going to call the police every time she saw something slightly unusual. She was not going to let her paranoia control her life. The man was gone anyway. There was nothing to report. She went back to the stall and tried to forget about it, but she could not forget. All afternoon, as she worked, she kept thinking about the man, his tense posture, his careful survey of the area, the phone call. By the time the market closed at 5, Megan had convinced herself she was being ridiculous, overthinking everything, seeing threats where none existed. She helped Bill pack up and walked home as the sun started to set. In her apartment, she made dinner and tried to relax. She turned on the TV, but could not focus on the show. Her mind kept going back to the man at the market. Finally, at 8 o'clock, she picked up her phone and called Officer Daniels. He answered on the second ring. Miss Walker? Is everything okay? I'm not sure. I saw something today that bothered me, but I might be overreacting. Tell me. Megan described the man, his behavior, the way he had surveyed the market, the phone call. Officer Daniels was quiet for a moment. Did you get a good look at him? Could you describe him in detail? White male, early 30s, brown hair, medium length, about 6 feet tall, wearing a dark blue jacket and jeans. I didn't see his face clearly. And he didn't do anything overtly suspicious? Just looked around and made a phone call? Yes, that's why I hesitated to call. It might be nothing. But it might not be. Officer Daniels sounded serious now. The festival starts in a week. If someone is planning something, they might be doing reconnaissance now. Can you come to the station tomorrow? I want you to work with a sketch artist, get a better description of this man. A sketch artist? For just looking around? Better safe than sorry. And Megan, trust your instincts. You saw something that worried you. That's worth investigating. They agreed to meet the next morning. After the call, Megan sat on her couch, staring at the ocean. She did not know if she had done the right thing. Maybe she was wasting police time. Maybe she was letting her trauma make her see danger everywhere. Or maybe, just maybe, she was right to be worried. She did not sleep well that night.
Sunday morning, Megan went to the police station. The sketch artist turned out to be Officer Park, who had training in forensic sketching. They sat in a quiet room with a computer, and Megan described the man she had seen as best as she could. The face shape. More oval, I think. Eyes set closer together. Nose was average, maybe slightly long. No facial hair that I could see. Officer Park worked on the computer, adjusting a digital sketch. Like this? Yes, but the hair was a bit shorter on the sides. They worked for an hour. When they finished, they had a decent approximation of the man's face. Officer Park printed copies. "We'll share this with all officers," he said. "If anyone sees this guy at the festival, we'll approach him, ask some questions." "What if I'm wrong?" Megan asked. "What if he was just a tourist and I've made you waste time on nothing?" Officer Park smiled. "Then we spent an hour making a sketch. Not a big deal. But if you're right, and this guy is planning something, then we might have just prevented a disaster. Worth the risk, don't you think?" Megan nodded. She hoped he was right. The rest of the week passed in a blur of preparation. The town transformed as the festival approached. Banners and flags went up everywhere. Vendors arrived and set up their booths. The main stage was built in the town square. Food trucks parked along the harbor. Megan spent her days helping Bill prepare for the festival. They were moving their vegetable stall to a larger location near the main entrance. Bill was excited. This was prime real estate with heavy foot traffic. "This is going to be our best festival yet," he said confidently. Megan tried to share his enthusiasm, but she could not shake her anxiety. Every time she walked through the festival setup, she saw vulnerabilities. Too many entry points, not enough police, crowds funneling through narrow passages. It made her nervous. She spent her evenings reviewing the security plan, making more notes. She shared them with Officer Daniels, who thanked her, but admitted they did not have the resources to implement most of her suggestions. "We're doing the best we can," he said, "and we have you. Your eyes, your experience, that counts for a lot." Megan was not sure if that was true, but she would do her best. Thursday evening, there was a volunteer meeting for everyone helping with the festival. Megan attended, sitting in the back of the town hall while the organizers went over final details. Schedules, maps, emergency procedures. Everyone seemed excited. After the meeting, a woman approached Megan. She was in her 40s, wearing a festival staff shirt. "You're Megan Walker, right? The security consultant?" "I'm not really a consultant, just helping out." "I'm Rachel, festival coordinator. Officer Daniels told me about your background. We're lucky to have someone with your experience here." "I'm happy to help." Rachel lowered her voice. "Between you and me, I'm a little worried about this year. We're expecting so many people. Our biggest festival ever. And the world feels less safe lately. You know?" Megan knew exactly what she meant. "We've done everything we can," Rachel continued. "But I keep thinking, what if something happens? What if someone gets hurt? This festival is my responsibility." "You've done a good job with the planning," Megan said, "and the police are prepared. Just trust the plan and stay alert." Rachel nodded. "Thanks, and thank you for helping. It makes me feel better knowing someone like you is watching out for problems." After Rachel walked away, Megan felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. People were counting on her, trusting her, expecting her to keep them safe, just like they had at the airport. "Don't think about that," she told herself. "This is different. You're prepared this time." But the doubt remained. Friday arrived, the day before the festival began. The town was buzzing with activity. Vendors were doing final setup. Restaurants were stocking up on food and supplies. Hotels were full of early arrivals. Megan helped Bill with the stall setup in the morning, then walked through the festival area in the afternoon, familiarizing herself with the layout. She noted the locations of medical stations, fire extinguishers, and security posts. She mapped out the fastest routes to different areas. She thought about crowd flow, bottlenecks, and emergency evacuation routes.
It felt like being back at work. The old habits, the old mindset. Part of her had missed this. The strategic thinking, the problem solving, the feeling of being useful in an important way. But another part of her was terrified. What if she missed something? What if something bad happened and she could not stop it? That evening, Sarah invited her over for dinner one more time before the busy festival weekend. "You're going to be exhausted after 3 days of this," Sarah said, serving chicken and rice. "Make sure you eat properly and sleep. You can't work if you're too tired." "I'll be fine, Sarah." Sarah did not look convinced. "You're already working too hard. I see you at night, walking around the festival area, checking everything. You need to relax." "I just want to make sure everything is safe." "The police are doing that. It's not your job, but it felt like her job. It felt like her responsibility." Linda asked, "Are you nervous about the festival?" "A little," Megan admitted. "Because of what happened before?" Megan looked up, surprised. She had never told Linda about the airport, but Linda gave her a knowing look. "Sarah told me you worked in security before, that something happened. She didn't give details, but I put it together." Megan did not know what to say. "It's okay," Linda said gently. "You don't have to talk about it. But I want you to know that we trust you. Whatever you're worried about, we know you'll handle it." "What if I can't?" "Then you'll do your best. That's all anyone can ask." That night, lying in bed, Megan thought about Linda's words. Do your best. That's all anyone can ask. She had done her best at the airport, too. She had looked at that X-ray image and made a decision based on her training and experience. It had been the wrong decision, but it had been her best at that moment. Could she forgive herself for that? Could she move forward without the weight of guilt holding her back? She did not know. But she could try. Tomorrow, the festival would begin, and she would do her best to keep people safe. That was all she could do. Saturday morning dawned bright and clear. Perfect festival weather. Megan woke at 6, too anxious to sleep more. She showered, dressed in comfortable clothes and good walking shoes, and ate a quick breakfast. At 7, she walked to the festival area. Vendors were already arriving, unloading supplies, setting up displays. The smell of coffee and pastries filled the air as food stalls prepared for the day. Bill was at their vegetable stall, arranging produce. "Big day," he said with a grin. "Ready?" "As ready as I'll ever be." They worked together to set up the display. By 8:30, everything was ready. The festival officially opened at 9, but people were already gathering at the entrances. Megan stood back and watched as the gates opened and the first visitors streamed in. Families with children, couples holding hands, groups of friends. Everyone smiling, excited for a day of food and music and fun. She scanned the crowd, looking for anything unusual. But it was just a normal festival crowd. Normal people having a normal good time. Officer Daniels appeared at her elbow. "Morning, how are you feeling?" "Nervous." "Me too." He gestured at the crowd. "But so far, so good." "We have officers stationed throughout the area. Everyone has the sketch of that suspicious man you saw. If he shows up, we'll know." "Good. You'll be walking the grounds?" "Yes, I thought I'd do a circuit every hour or so. Cover all the main areas." "Perfect. Keep your phone on. If you see anything concerning, call immediately." Megan nodded. She spent the first hour helping at the vegetable stall as the morning rush hit. People bought produce for their weekend cooking. Tourists bought locally grown items as souvenirs. Bill was right. This was going to be a good year for sales. At 10 o'clock, Megan left the stall and began her first walkthrough of the festival. She started at the harbor, where fishing boats were decorated and seafood vendors were doing brisk business. The smell of grilled fish and shrimp filled the air. Children ran around, excited by the boats and the water. Everything seemed normal. She moved to the arts and crafts area, where local artists displayed their work. Paintings, jewelry, pottery, wood carvings. Tourists browsed and bargained. Musicians played on a small stage. People danced, still normal. The main stage in the town square was hosting its first act, a local band playing bluegrass music. A crowd had gathered, clapping and tapping their feet. The sun was shining. The mood was festive. Megan allowed herself to relax slightly. Maybe everything would be fine. Maybe her worries were for nothing. She completed the circuit and returned to Bill's stall. "All clear," she told him. "Good. Now you should take a break, get some food, enjoy the festival a little." Megan smiled. Maybe later. The day progressed smoothly. Megan did another walkthrough at noon, then again at 2. The crowd grew larger as the day went on. By mid-afternoon, the festival was at peak capacity, thousands of people filling every space. The noise was constant: music, laughter, conversation, children screaming with delight. It was overwhelming. Too many people, too much stimulation. Megan felt her anxiety rising. She could not watch everyone, could not check every bag, every person, every corner. She found a quiet spot near the medical tent and took a few minutes to breathe. She used the grounding techniques Dr. Morrison had taught her. 5 things she could see, 4 things she could touch, 3 things she could hear. It helped. Her heart rate slowed. The panic receded. She could do this. Just a few more hours, then the first day would be over. At 4 o'clock, she started another walkthrough. This time, she noticed someone watching her. It was a man, standing near the children's play area. Not the man from last week. Someone different. Older, maybe 50. He was looking at her with an intense expression. When their eyes met, he looked away quickly. Megan's instincts flared. She walked past him, trying to seem casual, but she watched him from the corner of her eye. He pulled out his phone and made a call. Paranoia, Megan told herself. He's just making a phone call. Don't overreact. But she could not shake the feeling that something was wrong. She continued her circuit, but kept thinking about the man. After 10 minutes, she doubled back to the children's area. He was gone. She scanned the crowd but could not find him. Had he left? Or was he still here, watching her? "Stop it," she told herself. "You're being paranoid. Not everyone is a threat." But the unease remained. At 6 o'clock, as the evening performances began, Megan was walking past the food vendors when she saw him again. The man who had been watching her. He was talking to someone. Another man, younger, wearing a baseball cap. They were standing away from the crowd, near the restrooms. Their body language was furtive. The older man kept looking around, checking if anyone was watching. Megan moved closer, pretending to look at a food menu. She could not hear what they were saying, but she saw the younger man hand something to the older man. An envelope, or maybe a package. Small, flat. Then both men walked away in different directions. Megan stood frozen. What had she just seen? Was it just a normal exchange? Money, maybe? Or documents? Or something else? She pulled out her phone and called Officer Daniels. "Daniels here. It's Megan. I just saw something suspicious. 2 men exchanging something near the harbor restrooms. One of them has been watching me all afternoon. Can you describe them?" Megan gave descriptions. Officer Daniels said he would send someone to check it out. "Stay where you are," he said. "Don't follow them." But Megan did not stay where she was. She moved slowly through the crowd, keeping her eyes open. She saw the older man again, near the main stage. He was not watching the performers. He was looking at the crowd, at the structures, at the layout. Just like the first suspicious man had been doing last week. Reconnaissance. Megan's blood ran cold. This was not paranoia. This was real. Something was being planned. She called Officer Daniels again. "I found one of them." The older man. "He's near the main stage, and he's surveying the area. Just like that guy last week." "I'm sending officers now. Point him out to them when they arrive." 2 minutes later, Officers Park and another officer appeared. Megan pointed out the man, who was now moving toward the harbor. The officers approached him. Megan watched from a distance. She saw them talking to the man, asking questions. The man seemed nervous but cooperative. After a few minutes, the officers let him go. Officer Park came back to Megan. "He says he's just a tourist." He showed us his hotel receipt and his driver's license. "He's from California, here for the festival." "Did you ask why he was watching me?" "He says he wasn't watching you specifically." "He thought you were a festival organizer because you keep walking around checking things. He was going to ask you where the restrooms were." "And the exchange?" "The package?" "He says his friend owed him money." They met up to settle the debt. Megan felt foolish again. A tourist. Alone between friends. Normal, innocent explanations. "I'm sorry," she said. "I overreacted." "No, you did the right thing. Better to check than ignore it." But Officer Park looked tired. Megan realized he had been working all day and she had just sent him on a wild goose chase. "I'll try to be less jumpy," Megan said. "Don't. Stay alert. Just maybe don't call about every little thing. Save it for the really suspicious stuff." He walked away, leaving Megan feeling embarrassed and uncertain. What was really suspicious? She did not know anymore. Her judgment felt broken. The festival continued until 9 o'clock. As the sun set and lights came on throughout the area, the atmosphere became more festive. People ate dinner from the food vendors. The main stage hosted a popular band, and hundreds of people danced in front of the stage. Megan did one final walkthrough, then returned to Bill's stall to help close up. "How was your first day as security?" Bill asked as they packed vegetables into crates. "Confusing. See anything suspicious? Maybe. Or maybe I'm just paranoid and seeing threats that don't exist." Bill paused. "Megan, I don't know what happened to you before, but I know you're good at your job. If you feel like something is wrong, there's probably a reason. Trust yourself." Megan wanted to believe that, but trust was hard when your judgment had failed before. She walked home in the dark, exhausted. The streets were still busy with festival goers, people laughing and talking as they headed back to hotels and parking lots. It had been a good day for the town. No problems, no incidents, just another successful festival day. So why did Megan feel like something was wrong? In her apartment, she made dinner but could barely eat. Her mind kept going over the day, the man watching her, the exchange, the surveying behavior. Were these real threats? Or was her traumatized brain creating danger where none existed? She did not know. And that uncertainty terrified her. She went to bed early but could not sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw X-ray images, suitcases, bombs, explosions. At midnight, she gave up on sleep and sat by the window, watching the ocean. The waves were dark and constant, rolling in and out, eternal and unchanging. She wished her mind could be that calm. Tomorrow was Sunday, the second day of the festival, the busiest day, with the most visitors expected. Megan would have to be even more alert, if she could trust her own alertness. The night passed slowly. At some point, Megan must have fallen asleep in her chair, because she woke to sunlight and the sound of seagulls. Her neck was stiff and her back ached. She showered and dressed, drank coffee, and headed out for day 2.
Sunday morning was cloudy, with a threat of rain later. But that did not stop the crowds. If anything, more people came than Saturday. families trying to fit in their festival visit before the weather turned, tourists determined to get their money's worth. By 10 o'clock, the festival grounds were packed, shoulder-to-shoulder crowds in some areas, long lines at food vendors. The music from the main stage was louder, competing with the noise of thousands of conversations. Megan did her walkthrough, pushing through the crowds. It was harder to see today, harder to spot unusual behavior when everyone was crammed together. At the vegetable stall, Bill was overwhelmed. "Megan, I need you here this morning." "It's crazy busy." So Megan stayed at the stall, selling vegetables as fast as she could weigh and bag them. The morning rush did not let up until 1 o'clock. By then, her feet hurt and her voice was tired from talking to so many customers. "Take a break," Bill said. "Get some food." "I can manage for a bit." Megan walked to the food area and bought a fish taco from one of the vendors. She found a spot to sit on a bench near the harbor and ate while watching the boats. The clouds were getting darker. Rain was definitely coming. She checked her phone. A text from Officer Daniels. "All quiet so far. Keep up the good work." That was something at least. No incidents, no problems. Maybe yesterday's suspicious activity really had been nothing. Megan finished her taco and stood up to throw away her trash. As she turned toward the trash bin, she saw something that made her stop. A man walking past. White male, early 30s, brown hair, medium length. Dark blue jacket, jeans. The man from last week, the one she had seen surveying the market. Megan's heart started pounding. She watched as he walked through the crowd, moving with purpose toward the main stage area. He had a backpack slung over one shoulder. Dark blue, fairly large. This could not be a coincidence. He had surveyed the market last week. Now he was here at the festival, carrying a backpack. Megan pulled out her phone and called Officer Daniels. "I see him," she said quickly. "The man from last week. The one in the sketch. He's here, moving toward the main stage. He has a backpack." "Are you sure it's him?" "Yes. Same build, same clothing, same face. It's definitely him." "Where is he now?" Megan looked around. She had lost sight of him in the crowd. "I don't know. He was heading toward the main stage. Wait." She spotted him again. "He's near the stage, on the right side, moving toward the back. Stay on the line." "I'm mobilizing officers." Megan kept her eyes on the man. He stopped behind the stage area, in a space between equipment trucks. He looked around, checking if anyone was watching. Then he set down his backpack and opened it. Megan could not see what was inside from her position, but her instincts were screaming. This was wrong. This was a threat. "He just set down the backpack," Megan told Officer Daniels, "behind the stage, between two trucks. Officers are on their way." "Can you see what he's doing?" Megan moved closer, trying to stay in the crowd so he would not notice her. The man was kneeling by the backpack, pulling something out. She still could not see clearly. Too many people in the way. Then the man stood up, zipped the backpack closed, and walked away. He left the backpack on the ground between the trucks. Unattended bag. In a crowded area. Left by a suspicious person who had been surveying the location. Every alarm in Megan's head was going off. "He left the backpack," she said into the phone. "It's sitting on the ground unattended." Behind the stage. "Do not approach it," Officer Daniels said firmly. "Officers are 60 seconds away. Just keep eyes on the location." But Megan could not just stand there. The main stage was surrounded by thousands of people. If there was a bomb in that backpack, if it exploded now, hundreds would be hurt. She could not let that happen. Not again. "I have to check it," Megan said. "Megan, wait for—" She hung up the phone and moved toward the backpack. Her hands were shaking, but her mind was clear. She had done this hundreds of times at the airport. Evaluate unattended luggage. Determine the threat level. Act accordingly. She reached the space between the trucks. The backpack sat on the ground, dark blue and innocent looking. But Megan knew looks meant nothing. She crouched down next to it, listening. No ticking, no sounds. But modern explosives did not always make sounds. Carefully, moving slowly, she felt the outside of the bag. Through the fabric, she could feel hard objects, angular, multiple items, not clothes, not food, something else.
Her fingers found the zipper. She hesitated. Opening an unknown bag was dangerous. If it was booby-trapped, if it was pressure-sensitive, she could trigger an explosion. But she had to know. She had to be sure. Very slowly, millimeter by millimeter, she pulled the zipper open. She was ready to run if anything looked wrong, ready to dive away and shout a warning. The zipper opened. Inside the backpack was darkness. She could not see clearly. She used her phone flashlight, shining it inside. What she saw made her blood turn cold. Wires, batteries, plastic blocks wrapped in tape, a timer counting down. 147, 146, 145, a bomb. A real bomb. And it would explode in less than 2 minutes. Megan's training took over. No time for panic, no time for fear, only action. She pulled out her phone and called Officer Daniels again. "Bomb," she said, her voice surprisingly steady. "Real bomb. Between the trucks behind the main stage. Timer shows 1 minute 40 seconds. Get away from it. We're evacuating." "No time to evacuate thousands of people. I need to move the bomb away from the crowd." "Megan, don't." She hung up again. She grabbed the backpack, careful not to jostle it too much. It was heavier than she expected. She lifted it and started moving. Away from the stage, away from the crowd. Where could she take it? Where was safe? The harbor. The water. If she could get it to the water, the explosion would be contained. She walked quickly, carrying the backpack in front of her. People looked at her strangely. A woman hurrying through the crowd with a backpack, looking terrified. But no one stopped her. "Move!" she shouted when people got in her way. "Move!" She reached the harbor area. The walkway was crowded with people looking at the boats. Beyond them was the water. 112, 111, 110. She pushed through the crowd. "Everyone back! Move! Move now!" People scattered, sensing the urgency in her voice. Megan reached the edge of the walkway. The water was 10 feet below, dark and cold. She looked at the timer. 0:58, 0:57, 0:56. No time to throw it carefully. She heaved the backpack over the railing with all her strength. It flew through the air and splashed into the water. The weight of the batteries pulled it under immediately. Megan ran. She grabbed people as she passed, pulling them away from the water. "Run!" she screamed. "Bomb! Run!" The crowd understood. They ran, screaming and pushing. Megan ran with them away from the harbor as fast as she could. She counted in her head. 30 seconds, 20 seconds, 10 seconds. The explosion came when she was 50 feet from the water. The sound was massive, a deep boom that shook the ground. Water erupted upward in a huge column. The blast wave pushed through the air, knocking people off their feet. Megan fell, covering her head with her arms. For a moment, there was silence. Then screaming began. Megan looked back. Water was raining down on the harbor walkway. The explosion had shattered windows in nearby buildings. But the people were okay. Scared, crying, running, but alive. The bomb had exploded underwater, contained by the water, away from the crowd. No one was dead. Officers were running toward the scene. Megan saw Officer Daniels sprinting toward her. "Megan! Are you hurt?" She checked herself. Cuts and bruises from falling, but nothing serious. "I'm okay. You could have been killed. Why didn't you wait for us? No time. The timer..." Megan's legs gave out. She sat down hard on the ground. Now that the danger was over, the adrenaline was draining away, leaving her shaking and weak. Officer Daniels knelt beside her. "You just saved hundreds of lives. You know that, right?" Megan could not speak. She just stared at the harbor, at the water still rippling from the explosion. People were gathering around her. Someone put a blanket over her shoulders. Someone else was asking if she needed medical attention. The sounds were distant, muffled, like she was underwater. She had done it. She had found the bomb. She had stopped it. She had saved people. This time she had not failed. The realization hit her like a wave. This time she had saved them. Tears started streaming down her face. Relief, terror, exhaustion, all mixed together. Officer Daniels stayed beside her, talking to her, but she did not hear the words. She could only cry. Eventually, paramedics arrived and checked her over. Minor injuries, shock. They wanted to take her to the hospital, but she refused. "I'm okay," she insisted. "I just need to sit for a minute." Officer Daniels helped her to a bench away from the chaos. The festival was being evacuated now. Announcements over loudspeakers, police directing crowds to the exits. It was controlled, calm. No panic, no injuries beyond a few people who had fallen in the rush to get away from the explosion. "We caught him," Officer Daniels said. "The man who planted the bomb. He was trying to leave the festival area. Officers found him based on your description. He's in custody now." "Good." Megan's voice was hoarse. "We're searching for others. He might not be working alone, but you've given us time to secure the area." Officer Daniels looked at her seriously. "Megan, you did something incredibly brave and incredibly dangerous. I should be angry at you for not waiting for us, but I can't be. You saved too many lives." "I couldn't let it happen again," Megan said quietly. "I couldn't fail again." "Again? What do you mean?" So Megan told him. About Seattle, about the airport, about the suitcase she had missed, about the bomb that had injured 5 people, about the guilt and trauma that had driven her to this small town. Officer Daniels listened without interrupting. When she finished, he said, "You didn't fail then, Megan. You made a decision based on the information you had. That bomb could have been anywhere in that airport, in the bathroom, in a shop, anywhere. It happened to be in an empty terminal. That's not your fault." 5 people were hurt. And today, 0 people were seriously hurt. Because you recognized a threat and acted on it. Because you trusted your instincts and your training. Megan wanted to believe him. And for the first time, she thought maybe she could. The next hour was chaos. Police and federal agents arrived, taking over the scene. The festival was officially canceled for the rest of the weekend. The bomber was being interrogated. Megan was interviewed 3 times, describing everything she had seen, everything that had happened. The bomb had been powerful, investigators said. If it had exploded near the stage with thousands of people packed in the area, the casualties would have been enormous. Dozens dead, hundreds injured. It would have been a massacre. But it did not happen, because Megan had been watching, because she had trusted her instincts, because she had acted. By evening, the sun was setting, and the festival grounds were empty except for police and investigators. Megan sat in her apartment, wrapped in a blanket, staring at the ocean. There was a knock on her door. Sarah. "Oh, honey," Sarah said, pulling Megan into a hug. "I heard what happened. Are you okay?" "I'm okay. You saved everyone. You're a hero." "I'm not a hero. I just did what I was trained to do. That's exactly what heroes do." Sarah sat down beside her. "Linda and the kids want to see you. They're worried." "Tomorrow," Megan said. "I'll see them tomorrow. Right now, I just need to be quiet." Sarah nodded and stayed with her for a while, not talking, just present. Eventually, she left, and Megan was alone again. Her phone was full of messages, her mother, her old colleagues from the airport, friends she had not heard from in months. Everyone wanted to know if she was okay, to congratulate her, to say they had always known she was special. But Megan did not feel special. She felt exhausted, and surprisingly, she felt at peace. She had faced her worst fear, another bomb, another chance to fail. And she had not failed. She had succeeded. She had trusted herself, her training, her judgment, and she had been right. Maybe she was not as broken as she thought. Maybe she could move forward. The next morning, Monday, Megan woke to find her story all over the news. Local woman stops terrorist attack. Hero security expert saves Coastal Bay Festival. Hundreds owe their lives to former airport security chief. Her phone rang constantly. News reporters wanted interviews. The mayor wanted to thank her publicly. The FBI wanted to debrief her. She ignored most of it. She took one call from Officer Daniels. "How are you holding up?" he asked. "Tired. Overwhelmed. I can imagine. Listen, the FBI wants to talk to you. The bomber is part of a larger group. They're planning attacks on festivals and public gatherings across multiple states. Your actions disrupted their whole network. They need your help identifying other potential threats." "I'll help however I can." "Good. Also," he hesitated, "the town council wants to give you an award. Medal of Honor or something. They're planning a ceremony." Megan groaned. "I don't want a ceremony. I told them you'd say that. But they want to do something. You saved this town." "I'll think about it." After the call, Megan stood by her window, looking at the ocean. The water was calm today, blue and peaceful under a clear sky. Like yesterday's storm had never happened. But it had happened, and Megan had survived it. More than survived, she had conquered it. There was another knock on her door. This time it was Linda and the children. "Megan!" Emma ran to her and hugged her legs. "Grandma Sarah says you're a hero." "I'm not a hero, sweetie." "Yes, you are," Jack insisted. "You stopped a bomb." "That's what heroes do." Linda smiled at her. "They wanted to see you. To make sure you're okay." "I'm okay." "Really?" Emma looked up at her seriously. "Were you scared?" Megan thought about that. "Yes, I was very scared, but I knew what I had to do, so I did it." "That's brave," Emma said. "Being brave doesn't mean you're not scared," Linda added. "It means you're scared, but you do the right thing anyway." Megan felt tears prickling her eyes again. She was crying a lot lately, but they were good tears, healing tears. "Thank you," she said, "for caring about me." "Of course we care about you," Linda said. "Your family." Family. Megan had not felt like she had family since leaving Seattle. But here, in this small town with these kind people, she had found it again. The week after the bombing was strange. The town was grieving. Their festival had been ruined, their sense of safety shattered. But they were also celebrating. No one had died. No one had been seriously hurt. And they had a hero to be proud of. Megan met with FBI agents multiple times, helping them understand the bombers' planning. She gave descriptions, answered questions, and shared her insights about security vulnerabilities at public events. The bomber, it turned out, was part of a group that called themselves the Awakening. They believed society was corrupt and needed to be torn down. They planned attacks on festivals, concerts, and gatherings to spread fear and chaos. The bomb at Coastal Bay was supposed to be their big statement. But Megan had stopped it. And her actions had given law enforcement the information they needed to arrest other members of the group across 3 states. An entire terrorist network was dismantled because she had trusted her instincts. Dr. Morrison called her. "I saw the news," Are you okay? I think so. Better than okay, actually. Tell me. So Megan told her therapist everything about facing her fear, about trusting herself, about saving people instead of failing them. This sounds like a turning point, Dr. Morrison said. A chance to rewrite your narrative. You're not the person who failed to stop a bomb. You're the person who stopped a bomb. You're the person who saved hundreds of lives. Can it really be that simple? Not simple, but possible. Healing isn't about erasing the past. It's about integrating it, learning from it, moving forward with wisdom instead of being paralyzed by fear. Megan thought about that. Moving forward. That sounded good. 2 weeks after the bombing, the town held a community gathering. Not a festival. It would be a while before anyone felt comfortable with another festival. But a gathering. A chance to come together. To process what had happened. To thank the first responders and the people who had helped. Megan did not want to attend, but Sarah insisted. You're part of this community. These people want to thank you. So Megan went. The gathering was held in the town square, the same place where the festival stage had been. There were speeches from the mayor, from Officer Daniels, from community leaders. There was music. There was food. And there was a moment when the mayor called Megan to the front. Megan Walker, the mayor said, you saved our town. You protected our families. You showed extraordinary courage in the face of danger. On behalf of everyone here, I want to present you with the town's highest honor, the Medal of Valor. Everyone applauded. People stood up, cheering. Megan walked to the front, feeling embarrassed, but also proud. She had earned this. She had done something good. The mayor placed a medal around her neck and shook her hand. The crowd kept cheering. Would you like to say something? The mayor asked. Megan had not prepared a speech. She looked at all the faces, familiar faces now. Her neighbors, her community, her friends. I'm not a hero, she said into the microphone. I'm just someone who did their job. But I want to say, thank you. Thank you for welcoming me to this town, for accepting me, for giving me a chance to start over. I came here running from my past, from a mistake I made. But you showed me that I don't have to be defined by my mistakes. I can move forward. I can grow. I can be better. She paused, emotion catching in her throat. I want to thank Officer Daniels and the police department for trusting me. I want to thank Bill for giving me a job. I want to thank Sarah and her family for making me feel like I belong. And most of all, I want to thank all of you for reminding me what community means, for showing me that even when bad things happen, we can come together and take care of each other. More applause, more cheering. Sarah was crying. Linda was crying. Even Bill, standing in the back, had tears in his eyes. After the ceremony, people came up to Megan to shake her hand, to thank her, to tell her their stories. A mother told her, my children were near the stage that day. You saved their lives. An elderly man told her, I've lived in this town my whole life. You're the bravest person I've ever met. Megan accepted their thanks with grace, though part of her still felt unworthy. But maybe that was okay. Maybe you did not have to feel like a hero to be one. As the sun set and the gathering ended, Megan walked home with Sarah, Linda, and the children. They chatted about the day, about the town, about plans for the future. What will you do now? Linda asked. Are you going to stay in Coastal Bay? Yes, Megan said without hesitation. This is my home now. Will you keep working at the market? Megan thought about that. I don't know, maybe. Or maybe I'll do something else. I've had some offers. Officer Daniels had asked her to become a security consultant for the town. The FBI had asked her to work with them on festival security nationwide. Even her old boss from Seattle had called, asking if she wanted her job back. But Megan did not want to rush into anything. She had time to decide. Time to figure out what she wanted, not just what she was running from. "Whatever you choose, we support you," Sarah said firmly. "As long as you stay close. We need you here." Megan smiled. "I'm not going anywhere." That night, in her apartment, Megan sat by the window and watched the ocean. The waves rolled in and out, constant and peaceful. She felt calm in a way she had not felt in 2 years. She thought about the journey that had brought her here, the failure at the airport, the trauma, the escape to a small town, the slow healing, and then the test, the moment when she had to face her fears again. She had passed the test. She had trusted herself, and she had saved people. But more than that, she had saved herself. She had proven that one failure did not define her, that she could move past guilt and fear, that she could be strong and capable and worthy. She was not the broken person who had fled Seattle. She was not the scared person who saw danger everywhere. She was Megan Walker, security expert, protector, hero, and she was home.
3 months later, autumn was beginning to show its colors along the Oregon coast. The leaves on the few deciduous trees were turning gold and red. The air was crisp and cool. The ocean was rougher, with bigger waves crashing against the shore. Megan stood in front of a new building on Main Street. The sign above the door read, "Coastal Bay Security Consulting, M. Walker, Chief Consultant." It was her business, her own company. After months of consideration, she had decided this was what she wanted to do. Not return to airport security, not work for the FBI, but stay in Coastal Bay and help her community stay safe. She would consult on security for local businesses. She would train people in threat recognition. She would help organize events safely. She would use her expertise to protect her town. The business had been open for a month, and already she had more clients than she could handle. Every business in town wanted her advice. Every event organizer wanted her there. The mayor had hired her to do a complete security assessment of all town facilities. She was busy. She was useful. She was happy. Bill had found a new helper for the market, though Megan still helped out sometimes on weekends. She liked staying connected to that simple, peaceful work. It reminded her of why she had come here in the first place. Officer Daniels had become a good friend. They met for coffee weekly to discuss security issues in the town. He valued her expertise, and she appreciated his support. Sarah and Linda's family had become her family in truth. She had dinner with them at least twice a week. She babysat Emma and Jack when Linda needed help. She helped Sarah with her garden. And slowly, carefully, she had reconnected with her old life. She talked to her mother more often. She had video calls with some of her former colleagues from Seattle. She even spoke at a security conference about her experience, helping other security professionals understand how to handle the trauma of their jobs. She was stitching together the pieces of her life, old and new, past and present, into something whole. One October morning, Megan was in her office reviewing a security plan for the town's upcoming Halloween festival when her phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello? Miss Walker? This is Agent Chen with the FBI. We spoke after the incident in May. Yes, I remember. How can I help you? I'm calling to update you on the case. The trial for the bomber and his accomplices concluded yesterday. They were all convicted. The main bomber received life in prison. The others received sentences ranging from 20 to 40 years. Megan felt a weight lift from her shoulders. That's good news. It is. And I wanted to personally thank you again. Your testimony was crucial to the conviction. Your quick thinking prevented a tragedy and helped us dismantle an entire terrorist network. Because of you, dozens of potential attacks were prevented. I was just doing what needed to be done. That's what makes you exceptional. Most people would have run away. You ran toward the danger. Agent Chen paused. If you ever want to work with us officially, the offer stands. We need people like you. Thank you. But I'm happy where I am. I understand. Well, if you ever change your mind, call me. Take care, Ms. Walker. After the call, Megan sat back in her chair and looked around her office. It was small but professional. She had a desk, a computer, file cabinets full of security plans and assessments. On one wall hung her Medal of Valor from the town. On another wall was a photograph of the harbor, taken the day after the bombing, showing the water calm and peaceful again. She thought about how far she had come. From the broken, traumatized woman who had fled Seattle to this person, strong, confident, building a new life. The journey had not been easy. There were still hard days. Days when the nightmares came back. Days when she doubted herself. Days when the weight of the past felt too heavy. But those days were fewer now. And she had people to help her through them. She had her therapist, her friends, her community. She was not alone anymore. There was a knock on her office door. A young woman stood there, looking nervous. Miss Walker? I'm Jennifer Thompson. I have an appointment? Megan smiled and stood up. Come in. Please, sit down. Jennifer was opening a new restaurant in town. She wanted advice on security cameras, alarm systems, and emergency procedures. It was exactly the kind of straightforward, helpful work that Megan loved now. As she discussed security plans with Jennifer, Megan realized something. She was not just surviving anymore. She was thriving. She had taken her trauma, her failure, her pain, and turned it into something positive. She was using her experience to help others. She was making a difference. This was healing, real healing, not forgetting the past, but integrating it, learning from it, growing because of it. The appointment lasted an hour. After Jennifer left, satisfied with Megan's recommendations, Megan closed her office for lunch. She walked down Main Street toward the harbor. It was a beautiful day, clear and bright. Tourists were still visiting, though fewer than in summer. She bought lunch at a small cafe and sat on a bench overlooking the water. The same spot where she had eaten that fish taco 3 months ago, where she had first seen the bomber. So much had changed since that day. Her phone buzzed, a text from Sarah. Dinner tonight? I'm making pot roast. Megan smiled and texted back, I'll be there. Should I bring dessert? Always. Megan finished her lunch and walked back toward her office. On the way, she passed the police station. Officer Daniels was outside, talking to some tourists. Megan, he called out. Got a minute? She walked over. What's up? We're planning a community safety workshop next month. Teaching people how to recognize suspicious behavior, what to do in an emergency, that kind of thing. Would you be willing to lead it? Of course. Just tell me when and where. Great. I'll send you the details. He lowered his voice. How are you doing? Really? Megan thought about the question. Really? I'm good. Better than I've been in a long time. I'm glad. You've become a real asset to this town. We're lucky to have you. I'm lucky to be here. It was true. She had come to Coastal Bay running from something, but she had found something here. Purpose, community, home. That evening, Megan went to Sarah's for dinner. The apartment smelled amazing. Pot roast with vegetables, fresh bread, apple pie for dessert. Emma and Jack ran to hug her when she arrived. Megan, look what I drew at school. Emma held up a picture of a woman with a cape. It's you. You're my hero. Megan looked at the drawing, feeling emotion well up. It's beautiful, Emma. Thank you. They sat around the table, this makeshift family, sharing food and stories. Linda talked about her students. Sarah talked about her book club. The children talked over each other, excited about everything. Megan just listened and smiled. After dinner, after the dishes were done and the children were in bed, Megan and Sarah sat by the window with tea. You seem happy, Sarah observed. I am. I'm glad. When you first moved here, you were so sad, so distant. I worried about you. I was in a bad place, Megan admitted, but you helped me. All of you. You made me feel welcome. You made me feel like I could start over. Everyone deserves a second chance, Sarah said. And look at what you did with yours. You saved this town. You started a business. You made a life here. I couldn't have done it without help. That's how life works, dear. We all need help sometimes. The trick is accepting it when it's offered. Megan thought about that. She had been so isolated when she arrived in Coastal Bay, so determined to handle everything alone. But slowly, she had learned to let people in, to accept friendship and support, to be part of a community. That had made all the difference. Later, walking home under a sky full of stars, Megan felt a sense of contentment she had not felt in years. Her life was not perfect. She still had challenges. But she had found her place. She had found her purpose. She was no longer running from her past. She was building her future. The next morning, Megan went for a run along the beach. This had become her routine. Early morning exercise before work. The beach was empty except for a few other runners and people walking their dogs. The ocean was loud, waves crashing rhythmically. As she ran, she thought about her life, about the choices that had brought her here, about the person she had been and the person she had become. 2 years ago, she had made a mistake. One decision, one moment that had haunted her. She had let it define her, let it break her, let it drive her away from everything she knew. But she was not that mistake. She was more than that moment. She was a lifetime of good decisions, of helping people, of doing the right thing. And when it had mattered most, when she had faced the same situation again, she had not failed. She had succeeded. She had saved people. That was who she was, not the person who made one mistake, but the person who kept trying, who kept fighting, who kept showing up. She finished her run and walked back to her apartment, breathing hard but feeling good. She showered, dressed for work, and made breakfast. Another ordinary morning in her extraordinary new life. At the office, she had back-to-back appointments all morning. A shop owner who wanted to upgrade their security system. A school principal who wanted advice on emergency procedures. The owner of the local theater who was worried about crowd management during shows. Megan helped all of them, drawing on her years of experience. She designed security plans, recommended equipment, explained best practices. This was what she was good at. This was what she was meant to do. At lunchtime, Officer Daniels stopped by. "Got time for a quick meeting?" "Sure. What's going on?" They walked to the cafe down the street and ordered sandwiches. "The town council is planning next year's festival," Officer Daniels said. "They want to do it again. Show that we're not afraid, but obviously we need much better security this time." "That makes sense. They want you to design the entire security plan, full authority, whatever you think is necessary. They've allocated budget for equipment, additional personnel, everything." Megan took a bite of her sandwich, thinking, "That's a big responsibility." "You're the only person for the job. You know what went wrong last time. You know what we need to prevent it from happening again." "I'd need to start planning now, 8 months ahead, detailed threat assessments, vendor screening, checkpoint designs, emergency response protocols." "So you'll do it?" Megan smiled. "Yes, I'll do it." They spent the rest of lunch discussing preliminary ideas. Megan's mind was already working, designing systems and procedures. This time, the festival would be safe. She would make sure of it. Over the next few months, Megan threw herself into the festival security planning. She worked with Officer Daniels and the police department, with the fire department, with the festival organizers. She designed a comprehensive security plan that balanced safety with the welcoming atmosphere the town wanted. There would be checkpoints at all entrances, But they would be quick and non-intrusive. Bag checks, metal detector wands, friendly security personnel, cameras throughout the venue monitored by a central command center. Undercover officers mixing with the crowd. Emergency response teams on standby. Clear communication channels and evacuation procedures. It was a professional, thorough plan. The kind of security that protected people without making them feel scared or controlled. The town council approved the plan and the budget. Preparations began. Meanwhile, Megan's consulting business continued to grow. She hired an assistant, a young woman named Rachel, who had just graduated with a criminal justice degree. Together, they handled the workload. Megan also started teaching. She offered workshops at the community college on personal safety and threat awareness. She volunteered to teach self-defense classes at the local gym. She spoke at schools about staying safe. She was becoming a fixture in the community, not just the woman who stopped the bombing, but a valued member of the town, someone people knew and trusted. Winter came, bringing rain and cold winds from the ocean. Megan spent Christmas with Sarah's family, exchanging gifts and eating too much food. It was warm and happy and felt like home. On New Year's Eve, the town held a small gathering in the square. Nothing like the festival, just a few hundred people counting down to midnight. Megan attended, standing with her friends, watching fireworks over the ocean. As the new year began, she made a resolution: not to be perfect, not to never make mistakes, but to keep moving forward, to keep growing, to keep helping. That was enough. Spring came again, and with it, the preparations for the festival intensified. Megan worked long hours, coordinating with dozens of people. She trained the security team. She ran drills. She checked every detail.
Officer Daniels often joked that she was more stressed about this festival than he was. He was probably right. She wanted everything to be perfect. She wanted to prove that the town could have its festival and be safe. 1 week before the festival, Megan did a final walkthrough of the venue. Everything was in place. Checkpoints ready, cameras installed, emergency equipment positioned, the security team trained and prepared. It looked good. She felt confident. But as she stood in the empty square, looking at where the stage would be, she felt a flutter of anxiety. What if something went wrong? What if she had missed something? She took a deep breath and used her grounding techniques. She was prepared. The team was prepared. They had planned for every scenario. She could do this. The night before the festival, Megan could not sleep. She lay in bed, going over every detail in her mind. The checkpoints, the cameras, the response protocols. Everything seemed solid, but doubt crept in anyway. At 2 a.m, she gave up on sleep and made tea. She sat by her window, watching the ocean, trying to calm her mind. There was a knock on her door. Sarah, in her bathrobe. "Can't sleep either?" Sarah asked. "How did you know I was awake?" "Saw your light on." "Mind if I join you?" They sat together by the window, drinking tea in comfortable silence. Finally, Sarah said, "You're worried about tomorrow." "Yes." "You've done everything you can." "The rest is out of your control." "I know, but what if it's not enough? What if something goes wrong?" Sarah put her hand over Megan's. "Then you'll handle it, like you handled it before. But Megan, you can't live your life in fear of what might happen. You've worked so hard to heal. Don't let anxiety steal that from you." Megan felt tears forming. "I don't want to fail again."
You won't. And even if something unexpected happens, even if something goes wrong, that's not failure. Failure is giving up. Failure is not trying. You're trying. You're doing everything right. That's all anyone can ask. Megan leaned her head on Sarah's shoulder. "Thank you." "That's what family does," Sarah said softly. They sat together until the sun began to rise, painting the ocean in shades of pink and gold. Then Sarah went back to her apartment, and Megan got ready for the day ahead.
Megan walked the venue, watching everything. The crowd was large but manageable. Families enjoying the sunshine, children running around, music from the stage, food vendors doing brisk business. It looked like a normal, happy festival. She checked in with different security stations. Everything was running smoothly. No issues, no concerns. By noon, the festival was in full swing. Thousands of people filled the square and harbor area. The atmosphere was joyful. People had not forgotten what happened last year, but they were not going to let fear control them. Megan felt proud of her town. They had faced a terrible threat, and they had come back stronger. She was standing near the main stage when she saw someone watching her. A woman, maybe 60 years old, with gray hair and kind eyes. The woman approached. "Excuse me, are you Megan Walker?" "Yes, I thought so. I wanted to thank you. My granddaughter was near the stage last year when it happened. You saved her life. She's here today." The woman pointed to a young girl dancing near the stage. "Because of you, she gets to enjoy this festival. Because of you, I still have my granddaughter." Megan did not know what to say. The woman hugged her, tears in her eyes, then walked away. Megan stood there, feeling overwhelmed. This was why she did this work. Not for recognition or medals, but for moments like this. For grandmothers who still had their granddaughters. For children who could dance and play without fear. The day continued without incident. The security team was alert and professional. The crowd was well behaved. Everything was going perfectly. At 5 o'clock, as the evening performances were about to begin, Megan did another full walkthrough. She checked every checkpoint, every camera, every security position. Everything was secure. She allowed herself to relax slightly. They had done it. The festival was safe. People were having a good time. Nothing bad had happened. She walked to the harbor, to the spot where she had thrown the bomb into the water a year ago. The water was calm today, reflecting the orange light of the setting sun. Beautiful and peaceful. Officer Daniels found her there. "Taking a break?" "Just checking. Making sure everything is okay." "Everything is more than okay. This is the smoothest festival we've ever had. Your security plan is working perfectly." Megan smiled. "Good. You did it, Megan. You took the worst thing that happened to this town and turned it into something positive. We're safer now because of you. We're safer because everyone worked together. The police, the volunteers, the community. It wasn't just me, but you led us. You showed us how." Officer Daniels looked at her seriously. "Last year, when that bomb went off, I thought our festival was over. I thought we'd never do this again. But you proved we could. You gave us our festival back." Megan felt emotion rising in her chest. She had not thought about it that way. But he was right. The festival had almost died last year, and now it lived again, stronger and safer. "Thank you," she said quietly. They stood together, watching the water, as the sun set over the ocean. The festival continued for 2 more days. Both days went smoothly. No incidents, no problems. Just 3 days of music and food and community and joy. On the final evening, as the last performance ended and the crowd began to leave, Megan felt exhausted but satisfied. They had done it. The festival was a success. The security team gathered to pack up equipment. Megan thanked each person individually, praising their work and professionalism. They had all done an excellent job. As she was leaving the venue, the festival coordinator, Rachel, found her. "Megan, wait. The organizing committee wants to talk to you." They walked to a small office where the festival committee was gathered. The mayor was there, along with several council members and community leaders. "Megan," the mayor said, "we wanted to thank you officially. This festival was a huge success, and it was safe. Parents felt comfortable bringing their children. Vendors felt secure. Everyone had a wonderful time. That's because of your security plan and your leadership." "Thank you, but really it was a team effort." "We know," the mayor interrupted gently, "but you were the leader. And we want to make this official. We'd like to hire you as the town's director of public safety, a permanent position. You'd oversee security for all town events, coordinate with the police and fire departments, and advise the council on safety matters." Megan was stunned. That's a big job. It's the right job for you. We need someone with your expertise, someone the community trusts, someone who has proven they can protect us. Can I think about it? Of course. Take your time. But we hope you'll say yes. As Megan walked home that night, her mind was racing. A permanent position, director of public safety. It was exactly the kind of work she loved. And it would mean fully committing to Coastal Bay, to this community that had become her home. But was she ready? Was she healed enough to take on such responsibility? She thought about the past year. The journey from broken and traumatized to confident and capable. The work she had done, both professionally and personally. The relationships she had built. The life she had created. She was ready. The next morning, she called the mayor and accepted the position. The weeks that followed were busy. Megan transitioned her consulting business to Rachel, her assistant, who was ready to take over. She set up her new office at Town Hall. She began working closely with the police and fire departments, reviewing protocols and procedures. She also continued her therapy sessions with Dr. Morrison. Just because she was doing well did not mean she did not need support. "How do you feel about the new position?" Dr. Morrison asked during one session. "Good. Nervous, but good. It feels right." "Tell me about the nervousness." "I guess I still worry that I'll fail, that I'll miss something important and people will get hurt. That's a normal concern for someone in your position. But it's different from the crippling fear you used to have. Can you see the difference?" Megan thought about it. "Yes. Before, the fear paralyzed me. Now, it just makes me careful. It makes me thorough." That's growth. That's healing. You've learned to channel your fear into something productive instead of letting it control you. It was true. Megan had learned to live with her fear, to work alongside it instead of being consumed by it. The nightmares were rare now. The hypervigilance had eased into healthy awareness. She could do her job without being overwhelmed by anxiety. Summer turned to fall again. Megan settled into her new role. She loved the work. Every day brought new challenges and opportunities to help her community. She evaluated security at schools and public buildings. She planned emergency response procedures. She taught safety workshops. She was making a real difference. One October afternoon, Megan was in her office when she received an unexpected email. It was from one of the workers who had been injured in the airport bombing 2 years ago. "Dear Ms. Walker, I hope this email finds you well. My name is David Martinez. I was one of the workers injured in the terminal explosion at Seattle International Airport. I've been following your story in the news, how you stopped the bombing at the Coastal Bay Festival. I wanted to reach out to tell you something. I never blamed you for what happened. None of us did. We all knew you did your best with the information you had. That bomber was clever. He fooled everyone, not just you. But I also wanted to tell you that I'm proud of you. Not just for stopping that bomb, but for getting back up after what happened. I know it must have been hard. I know you must have blamed yourself. But you didn't give up. You kept going. And when the moment came, you saved hundreds of lives. That takes real courage. That makes you a true hero. I'm doing well now, by the way, fully recovered, back at work, living my life, just like you should be living yours, without guilt, without regret. We both survived that day. Let's make sure we really live, not just survive. Thank you for everything you do. Sincerely, David Martinez.
Megan read the email 3 times, tears streaming down her face. She had never contacted the injured workers. She had been too afraid, too ashamed. But here was one of them, reaching out to her, releasing her from guilt. She wrote back immediately, thanking him for his kindness and his words. She told him how much his message meant to her. She wished him well. After she sent the email, she sat back in her chair and cried. But these were good tears, healing tears, tears of release. She was not responsible for that bombing. She had done her best, and she had learned from it, grown from it, become better because of it. She could finally, truly, forgive herself. That evening, she went to Sarah's for dinner. It was becoming a weekly tradition. Linda and the children were there, as always. They ate together, laughed together, shared stories about their weeks. "You seem different tonight," Sarah observed. "Lighter, somehow." "I feel lighter," Megan admitted. She told them about the email from David Martinez. "That's wonderful," Linda said. "You've been carrying that guilt for so long. I'm glad you can finally let it go." "Me too." After dinner, Emma asked Megan to read her a bedtime story. They curled up on the couch together, Emma's head on Megan's shoulder, while Megan read about a brave princess who saved her kingdom. When Emma fell asleep, Megan carried her to bed. She stood in the doorway for a moment, watching the little girl sleep peacefully. This was what she had saved last year. Not just lives in abstract, but real people. Children like Emma, families like Sarah and Linda's, people she loved. It had all been worth it. November brought rain and cold winds. Megan was busy planning security for the town's holiday events. Thanksgiving parade, Christmas tree lighting, New Year's celebration. Each event required careful planning and coordination. But she loved the work. She loved being useful. She loved protecting her community. One rainy afternoon, Officer Daniels stopped by her office. "Got a minute?" he asked. "Sure. What's up?" He sat down, looking serious. "I wanted to talk to you about something. The FBI has been in contact. They want to create a national training program for festival and public event security. They want you to be one of the lead instructors." Megan blinked. "Me?" "You're one of the foremost experts in the country on this stuff now. You've got the theoretical knowledge from your airport work and the practical experience from stopping a real attack. Plus, you've developed security protocols that actually work. They want you to teach others." That would mean traveling. Being away from Coastal Bay? Not all the time. Maybe a few weeks a year, teaching intensive courses. The rest of the time, you'd develop curriculum from here. They'd work around your schedule with the town. Megan thought about it, sharing what she had learned with others, helping protect festivals and events across the country. It was tempting. "I'll think about it," she said. "Good. It's a great opportunity, and you'd be helping a lot of people." That night, Megan called Dr. Morrison and discussed the offer. "How do you feel about it?" Dr. Morrison asked. "Part of me wants to say yes. It feels important. But part of me wants to stay here, in my small town, in my safe place." "Is Coastal Bay still a safe place for you? Or is it home?" Megan thought about the distinction. "It's home." "Then that's your answer. Home isn't a place you hide. Home is a place you return to. You can go teach others, share your knowledge, make a difference on a national level, and then you can come home." Dr. Morrison was right. Megan was not running anymore. She was not hiding. Coastal Bay was not her refuge. It was her home, and home would be here when she returned. She accepted the FBI's offer. Over the winter, she worked with the FBI to develop training materials. She wrote manuals, created presentations, and designed practical exercises. She drew on everything she had learned, from her years at the airport, from the bombing, from planning the festival security. In January, she taught her first course. 20 security professionals from across the country came to Coastal Bay for a week-long intensive training. Megan taught them about threat assessment, security design, crowd management, and emergency response. But more than that, she taught them about mindset, about staying calm under pressure, about trusting your instincts, about learning from failures instead of being destroyed by them. The students were impressed. Many told her that the course changed how they thought about their work. Several said she had inspired them.
Megan was proud. She was taking her painful experience and turning it into something that would help countless others. She was preventing future attacks, protecting future festivals, saving future lives. This was her purpose. This was her calling. Spring came again, bringing the second anniversary of the bombing. The town held a small memorial ceremony at the harbor. A plaque was unveiled, honoring the courage of everyone who had responded that day. Megan's name was on the plaque, along with the police officers, firefighters, and medical personnel. The ceremony was simple but moving. People shared memories. They talked about how far the town had come. They celebrated resilience and community. Megan stood at the harbor's edge, looking at the water. 2 years ago, she had thrown a bomb into this water. 2 years ago, she had saved her town. 2 years ago, she had started to heal. Sarah stood beside her, as she so often did. "What are you thinking about? About how much has changed?" 2 years ago, I was broken. I thought I was useless. I thought I would never be able to work in security again. And now I'm teaching others. I'm director of public safety. I'm living a full life. "You've earned it," Sarah said. "You worked hard. You faced your fears. You healed." "I had help," Megan said, putting her arm around Sarah. "I had you. And Linda and the kids and this whole community, you all helped me heal. That's what communities do. We hold each other up." That evening, Megan sat in her apartment and reflected on her journey. From the airport bombing to Coastal Bay. From trauma to healing. From failure to success. She thought about the person she had been 2 years ago. Scared, broken, unable to trust herself. And she thought about the person she was now. Confident, capable, living with purpose. The journey had not been easy. There had been setbacks and struggles. There had been nights of fear and days of doubt. But she had kept going. She had kept trying. She had kept growing. And now she was here. Whole again. Not perfect. She still had difficult days, still had moments of fear. But she had learned to manage those moments. She had learned to be gentle with herself. She had learned that healing was not about erasing the past, but about integrating it into who you were becoming. She was Megan Walker, former airport security chief, festival bomber stopper, director of public safety, FBI instructor, friend, neighbor, hero. But most importantly, she was herself, flawed and strong, scarred and healed, broken and whole. And she was finally, truly happy. Epilogue. 3 years later, Megan stood at the podium in front of 200 security professionals. They had come from across the world for the International Festival Safety Conference, being held this year in Seattle. Seattle, her old city. She had not been back in 3 years. "The key to effective security," Megan said into the microphone, "is not about installing more cameras or hiring more guards. It's about mindset. It's about training people to recognize patterns, to trust their instincts, to act decisively when threats emerge. She clicked to the next slide in her presentation. It showed the security plan she had designed for the Coastal Bay Festival. This is a small-town festival with limited resources. But by implementing smart security design, thorough training, and clear protocols, we created a safe environment that didn't feel restrictive. That's the balance we need to achieve. Security that protects without suffocating. The audience was engaged, taking notes, nodding along. Megan had given this presentation dozens of times now. She had trained thousands of security professionals. Her methods were being implemented at festivals and events worldwide. She had made a real impact. Lives were being saved because of what she taught. After the presentation, during the break, several people approached her with questions. She answered each one patiently, sharing her knowledge and experience. One woman waited until the others had left. She looked nervous. "Miss Walker? I wanted to thank you. I work at an airport, and I recently had a situation similar to yours. A bag that looked suspicious, but not obviously dangerous. I remembered your training, about trusting your instincts, about not being afraid to investigate. I called it in. Turned out to be nothing, but my supervisor praised me for being careful. Your story helped me understand that it's okay to be cautious, that checking something out is never a waste of time." Megan felt emotion welling up. "Thank you for telling me that, and thank you for being vigilant. The world is safer because of people like you." After the conference session ended, Megan had the afternoon free. She decided to visit her old workplace. Seattle International Airport looked the same. Busy, modern, bustling with travelers. Megan walked through the main terminal, memories flooding back. She had spent 15 years here, some of the happiest years of her life, and some of the worst. She went to the security office and asked for her old boss, Director Harrison. He had retired last year, the receptionist told her, but his replacement, Director Chen, would be happy to meet with her. Director Chen greeted her warmly. "Miss Walker, it's an honor. We've followed your work. You've become quite famous in the security community." "Thank you. I just wanted to stop by and see the place again." They talked for a while about changes at the airport, about new security technologies, about the challenges of modern aviation security. Then Director Chen said, "We've implemented many of your recommendations here. The training protocols you developed, the threat assessment frameworks, they've made us better. I'm glad I could help. And I wanted you to know what happened 3 years ago. We don't talk about it as a failure anymore. We talk about it as a learning experience, something that made us all better at our jobs. And we point to you as an example of resilience, of getting back up after a fall." Megan felt tears prickling her eyes. "That means a lot. Thank you." Before leaving the airport, Megan visited Terminal B, the terminal that had been damaged in the explosion. It had been rebuilt, modernized. No visible signs of what had happened remained. But Megan remembered. She stood in the terminal and thought about that day, about the decision she had made, about the consequences. And then she thought about everything that had come after. The healing, the growth, the second chance. She did not regret what had happened. That felt strange to admit, but it was true. If that bombing had never happened, she would never have gone to Coastal Bay. She would never have found her true calling. She would never have learned about resilience and community and forgiveness. The pain had led to growth. The failure had led to wisdom. The breaking had led to healing. She would not wish it on anyone else. But for herself, she would not change it. Megan left the airport and drove along the coast toward Coastal Bay. The drive took 3 hours. 3 hours to return home. As she drove into town, she felt a sense of peace. This was where she belonged. Not in Seattle with its millions of people and constant chaos. Here, in this small coastal town where everyone knew her name. She parked in front of her apartment building and grabbed her suitcase. As she walked toward the entrance, she heard a familiar voice. "Megan, you're back." Emma, now 11 years old and growing so fast, ran toward her and hugged her. Jack followed, 7 now and full of energy. "We missed you," Emma said. "I missed you too." "Where are your mom and grandma?" "Upstairs making dinner. They said to bring you up when you got home." Home. That word filled her with warmth. She went upstairs to Sarah's apartment. The smell of cooking greeted her, something with garlic and herbs. Sarah was at the stove. Linda was setting the table. "She's home," Emma announced. Sarah turned and smiled. She was 75 now, moving a bit slower, but still sharp and energetic. "Welcome back." "How was Seattle?" "Good." "Strange. It doesn't feel like home anymore." "That's because this is your home now," Sarah said firmly. They sat down to dinner, the 5 of them, and Megan told them about the conference, about the people she had trained, about visiting the airport, about how far she had come. "We're proud of you," Linda said. "You've accomplished so much." "I've had a lot of help," Megan said, looking around the table. "From all of you?" After dinner, after the dishes were washed and the children were doing homework, Megan walked down to the harbor. The sun was setting, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and purples. The water was calm, reflecting the colors. She stood at the spot where she had thrown the bomb 3 years ago. The spot that had changed her life. A figure approached. Officer Daniels, though he was Captain Daniels now, having been promoted last year. "Saw you were back in town," he said. "How was the conference?" "Good." "Exhausting, but good." They stood together, watching the sunset. "Things have been quiet here," Daniels said. "No major incidents. Your security protocols are working well." "That's good. We've got 3 new officers starting next month. I was hoping you could train them." "Of course. I'd be happy to." They talked about town business for a while. Then Daniels said, "You know, 3 years ago, when you first came to Coastal Bay, I never imagined this. I never imagined you'd become such an important part of this community." "I didn't either. I just wanted to hide. And instead, you became a hero." "Funny how life works." Megan smiled. "Yeah, funny." As darkness fell and stars began appearing overhead, Megan walked back to her apartment. She was tired from the trip, but it was a good tired. The tired that came from doing meaningful work. In her apartment, she changed into comfortable clothes and made tea. She sat by the window, her favorite spot, and looked out at the ocean. She thought about her journey, from Seattle to Coastal Bay, from trauma to healing, from broken to whole. She thought about the people who had helped her, Sarah and Linda and the children, Officer Daniels and Bill, Dr. Morrison, the whole community of Coastal Bay. She thought about the lives she had saved, the hundreds of people at the festival who had gone home safely to their families, the security professionals she had trained who were now protecting events worldwide, the potential attacks that had been prevented because of her work. She had made a difference. A real, tangible difference in the world. And more than that, she had proved something to herself. That failure did not have to be final. That mistakes did not have to define you. That you could fall down and get back up. That you could break and heal stronger. She was not the same person who had fled Seattle 3 years ago. She was better, wiser, more compassionate, more resilient. She had become who she was always meant to be. Megan finished her tea and went to bed. As she drifted off to sleep, Listening to the waves outside her window, she felt at peace. Tomorrow she would wake up and go to work. She would protect her town, train her officers, plan for upcoming events. She would do the work she loved in the place she loved. And that was enough. More than enough. That was everything. The next morning, Megan woke to sunlight and the sound of seagulls. She stretched, feeling rested and ready for the day. She made coffee and breakfast, checking her email while she ate. There was a message from the FBI. They were planning another training session and wanted her to lead it. She replied that she would be happy to. There was a message from her mother, asking how the conference had gone and when Megan would come visit. She made a note to call her later. There was a message from Bill asking if she wanted to help at the market on Saturday, just for fun, not because he needed help. She smiled and replied yes. At 9 o'clock, she walked to her office at Town Hall. The building was familiar now, comfortable. She greeted the receptionist and the other staff members, all people she knew well. In her office, she had a stack of work waiting. Security assessment for the new school being built, plans for the summer concert series, training schedule for the police officers, budget review for security equipment upgrades. It was good work, important work, work that mattered. Megan sat down at her desk and got started. Just another day in her life. Just another day of protecting her community, using her skills, living her purpose. Just another day in the life of Megan Walker. Hero, protector, survivor, healer. Just another day of being herself. And that was the greatest achievement of all. If this story touched you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We'd love to hear what inspired you the most. And where in the world are you watching from? Let us know below.